What is up, everyone? Thanks for joining us for episode 115 of the Game Cast. I'm one of your hosts, Kenny, and with me is Tess.
Hello, everybody.
And we are back. I told you we'd be back. You didn't believe me. With valid reason, but we're back. We're back with another dope podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, I have to apologize for my wrinkled shirt. It is laundry day, and our iron broke. And I know that sounds like excuses, but we have like a, I don't want to say industrial, but we have an what you would see in a tailor shop where like the iron has like the plug that goes to the water jug that's hanging
Yeah.
over the thing. Like the fuse broke, and so we don't have like a regular iron.
You got your mama's iron. You got Auntie Thelma's iron.
We do. Or a facsimile of, I think we've replaced the original one.
Okay.
And so the fuse broke, and so it's like, oh darn. Okay. And so we ordered a new one. We'll have it here soon. As
That's
opposed to
the
buying a whole
original
new thing.
iron.
But it's dope. It's
It is
such a
dope.
good iron. And I don't
It's
want to we
it's
don't
a
need an iron.
Rowenta.
Yeah, I don't
It's
we
a
don't need an
Rowenta. Yeah.
ironing segment, but it's a dope iron. Like you won't mess up your clothes, you won't burn anything. Like it's not like uh you know the normal irons was like the hot metal or whatever. It's like it has a piece of fabric that goes over it so you don't, it's a whole thing. Whatever. Point is, I'm a little wrinkled today. I apologize. But I'm still good though. You know what I'm saying? I'm not in 4K, but I'm kind of in 4K if you squint. You know what I'm saying? We look good. We look good. We have a dope show for you today. One of the things we want to talk about is the recently released Looney Tunes trailer,
Mm.
The Day the Earth Blew Up. It's a film that's coming out in March of this year, March 14th. It was actually released. So this film has gone through a bunch of phases. It was supposed to be only on HBO Max, or Max Discovery, however they're calling that now.
Mhm.
And
We don't know
it
what
went
color it
through,
is.
right. It's went from blue to black. So I guess they're going backwards. I don't know, but it 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 had different names at one point, and eventually it became what it is today. The Day the Earth Blew Up, and it was released in theaters in Germany and Switzerland back in
Oh.
August of last year. It had some screenings here for like film festivals and stuff like that, but it hasn't actually released like in the U.S. yet, like where you can go to a theater and see it, and that'll be March 14th.
Mm.
I mentioned that because right now it's getting good reviews. I think it's like a 93 on Rotten Tomatoes,
Mhm.
um, and people are saying that it's a good film, funny and whatnot. And I kind of want to see this film, and I kind of don't. And I wanted to bring this up because I feel like this is the one of the few times where I feel like the content being shown is not for me. Like I'm too
Oh.
old for this.
Yeah.
Um, and not in the same way. Like for instance, I will watch with my son who's 5. I'll watch like some of his shows, and even though like Sesame Street isn't a, I don't really need to watch Sesame Street. I can still find some type of whatever by just singing along with him. Like this is a cool moment for you, and I can rock with you. Or my older kids when they're watching, I don't know, My Little Pony or whatever. Like I can be like, you know what, this isn't for me, but okay, cool. Whereas I watched the recent Looney Tunes shows that hit HBO, and I feel like they're doing this thing similarly to Animaniacs, the newer
Mhm.
Animaniacs show
Mhm.
that released on Hulu. They're doing this pseudo thing where, kind of like back in the day, where they have content for adults and children
Yeah.
within the same episode. And I feel like they're doing too much. Like they're
Mhm.
trying very hard to be funny. And I don't know if I feel that way because of my age. For instance, if I go back and watch Looney Tunes now, like the old Looney Tunes
Yeah.
show, I still think it's funny. But I
Yeah.
don't know if I think it's funny because I thought it was funny then, or you know what I'm saying, like if it came out today, and granted there's some jokes and stuff that they wouldn't do today that they did
Yeah.
back then.
Because they're
But
racist.
well, yeah, there's that, and there's a bunch of like just a bunch of bad stuff, right? Beyond that though, what I think it would be still funny, and I'm like, I don't know. And I'm trying to gauge how I would feel with watching this film, because looking at the trailer, the recent trailer, it looks like more of that the type of humor that I'm talking about, where
Mm-hmm.
maybe not the slapstick. The slapstick is probably right on, considering that the animation is great,
Mm.
but the more adult humor feels like they're forcing it, and it's just not. And granted, I haven't seen it. This is just me going off of the trailer and the previous Looney Tunes shows. Like, there's a show with the Tiny Toons, but they're in college, and which I thought would be hilarious because I'm like, oh, I love Tiny Toons, and now
Yeah.
they're in college. This is dope. This is like Saved by the Bell when they went to college. Maybe that's a bad example
That was
because
a bad example because
that
that
show
show was
wasn't that
bad.
great,
It was
right?
bad.
But or actually a good example because this show isn't great. So
Right.
I was watching it and I was like, oh, these jokes are like, I don't think I smiled. I smiled
Mm.
initially because I like to see the older versions of the characters, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, Buster, he's coming into his own. He's really cool. He's kind of he has anxiety about being in school,
Oh, poor Buster.
but at the same time, he's still goofy. I'm like, oh, this is an interesting way that you're building him up. And then his
Yeah.
roommate is Plucky, and Plucky has all the Daffy Duckness isms or whatever. And so I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, this is gonna be a dope, like, odd couple type show or whatever the case may be. And it isn't. It really isn't. And
No.
I was like, okay, all right, so maybe it's not for me. Maybe it's for the younger folks. But from what I've seen from the brief stuff that they've seen, like my kids have seen, they didn't really laugh either. Like
Yeah.
an explosion or someone getting hit in the face with a pie just didn't resonate
Didn't
as well
land.
as
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So I'm like, is this going to be a good? I mean, granted, like I said, it's reviewing well, but is this going to be a good film? And the reason why this matters is because Warner Brothers has been doing this thing where they have a complete film and then they'll shelve it, potentially for tax purposes or whatever the case may be. The consensus with this film is that if it does well, maybe we'll get that Coyote versus Acme film that
Mm-hmm.
everyone who's seen it has been raving about.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I want it to do well, but I totally understand people's apprehension to going and seeing it because it looks like something you would wait to watch on the streamer. You feel me?
Yeah.
Like the animation is amazing,
Yeah.
but
It
at the
looks
same
good.
time, plot wise, from what I've seen, characters and whatnot, it just looks like this could be a dope afternoon at home.
Yeah.
But considering it costs millions to make, it needs to actually make some of that money back. Um, and this would unfortunately potentially in Warner Brothers' eyes justify them saying, "Oh, this is why we shouldn't invest in animation." I don't want that to happen. I would like for
No.
that not to happen. And so I'm curious about how do you feel if you feel the same way or if you feel like it does look more humorous than my
No.
take or whatever.
I no. Mm-mm. Mm. I didn't think it looked. I was. I was. I'm on the interwebs because I need to watch the trailer, and I wasn't sure which one was the trailer because nothing looked standoutish to me.
Ah,
Like if
see.
this is
Yep.
supposed to be a new movie, it's supposed to be a movie that's hitting theaters, and nothing is standoutish. And it was like the day the Earth blew up, and I was like, "Is this an episode?"
Right.
That's
Hmm.
what it looked like. I
It's a
mean, it
play
doesn't.
on that. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
it, it didn't look like this was a feature film.
Right.
So, and I watched the trailer, and it was 1 minute, and I didn't really gain any information from said trailer. Animation looks really new. It looks like
Yeah.
it got drawn yesterday, like
Right.
and used a bunch of computer animators, and like it looks fresh.
Hmm.
And in all honesty, I was actually hoping to see a trailer and see the old style animation, not like
Ah, okay.
1928 Disney.
Right.
I mean 1948 Disney. you know, I was hoping we are gonna get something that's a little nostalgic,
Mm,
to get, especially to pull in some of the people who really really love Looney Tunes to
right.
come in, because we didn't watch Looney Tunes because we love. I mean, and my parents are immigrants, so it's different. But
Right.
I feel
Right.
like people our age didn't just watch Looney Tunes because we loved Looney Tunes. Our people our parents' age had watched Looney Tunes, and they still came on TV.
Right.
It was always there. It's just something that you could always watch. So, but no, I didn't. that trailer did not make me say, "Oh my god, I miss Daffy. Oh
Right.
my god, I miss Porky." Like, no, I didn't get any of that. It just
Yeah.
looked like mishap after mishap, disaster after disaster, and they clearly like butt jokes.
Yeah.
Like, and I was like, okay, next. So I'm not. I mean, again, yeah, I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful it does well because it's Looney Tunes. So
Right.
yeah, I hope it does well. And look, do not use this as a reason to not do. You're Warner Brothers. You have an archive of animation. Like, don't throw it all away. Wile E.
Yeah.
Coyote's hilarious. Okay,
Yeah.
the Roadrunner is amazing. Like, people loved that. The Roadrunner was we got Roadrunner shorts for years, just like
Yeah.
the little 30-second Roadrunner bites.
Hmm.
Roadrunner would do something funny, and Wile E. Coyote would do something really ridiculous, and we were like, oh, and then we went on to the next thing.
Yep.
Don't waste that. Don't waste that nostalgia, and don't waste that
The property.
yeah, like, you can get good stuff out of it. Every every streamer or company is trying to make some sort of animation because they all believe that that's where the money is now because anime finally took off. The US finally welcomed anime as a as a regular genre to the point where people are literally running down the street Konoha style. And and so it seems like every network wants to try to get in. And yeah,
And
get in. Just
you have a
don't do.
staple.
Yeah,
You have a staple. You have a foundation of animated everything,
yeah,
and from the stuff that they do of DC, Looney Tunes, where you name it, Cartoon Network. You have a lot, and they've been trying. I'm not going to hold you like
yeah.
they haven't been trying. Some of it's been not as good. Shout out to them. The Scooby show. What is it, Velma? I almost said
Velma.
Thelma. Velma. Um, not being great at all.
Yeah, I
Um,
heard.
but like, yeah, it's rough, and I don't know if it's just the because I wonder like who is this for, right? When I
Mhm.
think about that, it's like I grew up on Looney Tunes, so ideally it'll be for me and my kids. The kids will get the newness of the show or these characters like they're being introduced to these characters, whether they saw some recent rendition of them or not. And then I would get some type of nostalgia, which they're clearly building on because this story is, from what I've seen, it reminds me of like whenever Daffy meets Marvin the Martian. It's like
Mhm.
they have that kind of dynamic. And then him with Porky, if you remember Duck Dodgers, that's where that comes from. And
Mhm.
so it's like, okay, cool. There's some nostalgia here,
Yeah.
even in the way that they land, that they at like place some jokes. Is like this is harking back to whatever. But then I think about the recent Animaniacs, and listening and watching and just being like, I don't know who this is for because this isn't working. I don't think this works with the current stylings of children's show, and I can only speak to that based on, well, one, how well the show did, and then two, what's popular. Like SpongeBob is still freaking popular, and
Yeah.
they don't really run like SpongeBob. And not saying you have to, but I'm just saying like what's popular for children now. And then on top of that, it's like, okay, well, you're bringing in the adults, and the adult jokes are like it's a weird thing to joke. You have an adult joke. It's clearly not necessarily teen, I guess, where you're talking about like TikTok or you're talking about one of these things, and in a manner that's like as a teen, but with a underlying like sexual whatever. And it's like
Mhm.
these things don't mesh the way you think. Like
Yeah.
they don't. That the 30 to 40-year-olds don't really. They understand. They know what a TikTok is,
Mhm.
and they might even have a TikTok, but the way you mesh this joke together, you're like putting multiple generations together in a way that alienates everyone You know what I mean? Like it's like
How can you be diverse and alienating at the same time? Right?
right?
Like,
Like the people who are more into that are rolling their eyes because this is like a really poorly written whatever, and then the adults are like, I don't get none of like, I mean, I get it, but like
mm,
no, like, or it's like in terms of like Velma, where they spelled out the jokes, which I don't know who thought this was a good idea, but they would go so far as being like here's a joke about, I don't know, some ism, and then be like, turn to the camera and be like, this is a joke about this particular thing, and then turn back and it's like,
I already got it.
yeah, like why are you explaining the joke? Like I don't, that tells you this is not a good thing. Like this is not a good joke, right?
Yeah.
And not to beat a dead horse because that show was canceled, but I'm just hoping that Looney Tunes fares a little bit better. Um,
Yeah.
I don't think this will be the end of Looney Tunes, but it might be the end of big budget, you know,
Oh, yeah.
releases. We might not get another Space Jam type of situation because that's what um, the Coyote versus Acme is. It's a, you know, real life animation, you know, combination or whatever. And
Yeah.
so, and as John Cena, like people
Oh,
want to
come
see him
on.
regardless if he can be seen. So, you feel me? Like people want to search, you know, they want to see if he's
People are
there.
gonna, yeah,
They want to see if he's there.
go
Um,
off camera.
the next thing we want to talk about is so the announcement of the Goonies 2. I don't know how I feel about this. On one hand, I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool, especially with the actor Ki Hui Kwan
Hmm.
and how he's been, you know, he's had a resurgence as of late,
Yeah, really
thanks
happy for
to
him.
was it everything all it no
Everything,
what is the
everywhere, all at once.
there you go, that film.
Hmm.
I always get the everywhere and everything mixed up. It's like, yeah, anyways, he was been in the some Marvel stuff.
Yeah.
He recently released a film, um like I think around Valentine's Day, an action
Mm.
film
Love
or whatever.
hurts or
Love
something.
Hurts,
Yeah.
and he's been just doing great. He's in talks with other stuff, you know,
Hmm.
with you know to do other films and everything. And I really excited for him because he had a rough going after I think it was
Indiana
the
Jones.
Indiana Jones, the last
Yeah.
movie he was in, I think. And he had some other smaller things. And so it's like, yes, he's back. He got an award. He's doing his thing.
Yeah.
Cool. He wants to do the Goonies. The other actors who are still alive, Corey Feldman wants to do Goonies. It's like, all right, dope. Steven Spielberg is involved. The original writer is involved. Chris Columbus. Okay, cool.
Hmm.
But then at the same time, this movie came out what 40 years ago? No,
I
not 40. It's
Not 40, but it was
1985.
1989, 85.
1985.
Was
So
85? Okay.
yeah, just 40 years. Like, um,
Yeah.
I'm like, yo, like, what? Okay,
What is this
this
movie
could,
going to be about?
yeah. I feel like, and granted, you don't have to have. Let me say this because I know I said this previously with Looney Tunes.
Hmm.
You don't have to have an audience in mind in the sense of everyone who saw the Goonies 1 has to see the Goonies 2. You could totally make this a thing where like what Halloween did when it came back,
Mm.
and they did a sequel to the original Halloween. It was like if you didn't see the original, it's fine because of the way they positioned the film, the plot and everything. If you're new to the Halloween series, this could be a jumping on point for you.
Hmm.
So essentially, Goonies 2 could be that way as you know as well. But in terms of like just like nostalgia and whatnot, and the way that the original Goonies was written to be like a one and done thing,
Mm.
I don't know why we are doing a Goonies 2 now. Like, and mind you, Goonies, it was like I think the budget for the original was 17 mil. It made 120 something in the box office.
Wow.
It was a smash. It has turned into a cult following. You know,
Yeah.
it has been placed in like
The Goonies.
what is it, um they archived it because it's like a
Mm.
piece of, you know, American history type
History.
stuff. And so yeah, it's definitely a big deal, but big enough for a sequel right now? Will people even care that who aren't me? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, like is that
um,
like a like how I don't I'm and but granted, this is what Hollywood's been doing for a while. We've been getting legacy sequels. Some of them have worked, some of them haven't. I spoke
yeah.
about Beetlejuice being very not good. Um,
I didn't
and
even
for so many,
understand why it was happening.
I understand the possibilities, right? Like, It's kind of like when I think about the Matrix, when the Matrix got a number four, right? Yeah, number four, which was terrible. I understand the desire to make another Matrix, but
I don't.
from the understanding of not from those characters. Like if you think about
Right.
the Matrix and what like that entails, like if you saw that, like for instance, let's say the Matrix Two, right? They talk about like werewolves and vampires and all that as being glitches in the system. Like that is a really cool thing to explore.
Exactly.
You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? So like I understand the desire to jump in and be like, I want to do more content within the Matrix or make more, art within the Matrix because there's so much like this untapped,
Yeah.
potential here and there or whatever, right?
Hmm.
Um, I didn't understand continuing Neo's story.
I
Like
don't either.
he's done. You know what I'm saying? And so
Like Trinity's supposed to be dead.
they both were dead.
Yeah,
They were
they were
resurrected.
literally both dead.
Yes, they were both dead. And then so like and then with Beetlejuice, I'm like, okay, I understand. Especially after watching the animated show for years,
Hmm.
I understand that there's a lot to mind here that will be creatively that this just will be interesting.
Hmm.
You didn't do that.
Right.
You did not do that. And so with the Goonies, I'm like, okay, what would be creative here? Considering that, or interesting here, considering that their whole spiel was on basically their families being poor, going bankrupt. They find a treasure map that hints at a treasure. So they go on this adventure to get the treasure. They meet up with some, kidnappers slash robbers or whatever.
Right.
They have a whole adventure. And by the end of it, they're proven right because they see the ship floating out and everyone can see it. And it's like, oh, there really was a treasure. And we were able to save our family's farm or whatever. There's no farm. Just rock with me. Right. And so the sequel, are we talking about their children? Are their children going to go on an adventure? What for? Why? And
Why?
granted, there hasn't been a trailer, there hasn't been a script written yet. It's been greenlit. I'm still just like, what are they gonna do? And mind you, what are they gonna do that makes this the Goonies?
Yeah.
Like if their kids are just doing stuff, what makes it
What
unique to
makes
the
them the
Goonies?
Goonies?
You know what I mean? Like what makes it a Goonie film?
I'm gonna agree with you.
Like what?
I don't
Like
know. I was asking the same questions. I was just like, when I saw it, I said, "Oh,
that's yeah. I think that's like the universe went oh.
yeah." I was like, "Oh."
Like
I mean, seeing
okay.
as I never saw the full Goonies movie until I was an adult,
Mm.
used to come on like every other Saturday my entire youth, and I never saw the entire thing from front because you know why? I spent all my time watching Splash. Every time I would open
Oh
up the
wow.
TV, the weekly TV, not TV Guide because we weren't rich enough to be able to afford TV Guide, but the weekly one that came with
Right,
the
I remember
newspaper.
those. Yeah.
And I would look on the block for Saturday, and it was like Splash or Mannequin. I never
Yes.
missed Splash or Mannequin. Okay, watch Splash or Mannequin 100 times.
I
Okay,
feel you.
growing up. Goonies would come on. I'd be like, "Oh, the Goonies." Nope, got to clean my room that day. Nope, I have a migraine that day. Like, yes, because I had migraines, and I'm like, nope, I just missed it. I just, and I would literally see the same thing. Hey, you guys, and like that's it.
Yes,
Like,
yes.
I never understood what they were doing in this movie, and then I watched it as an adult, not like a old adult like I am now, but like um because I'm middle aged now. So,
Right, right,
but
right.
like younger. and and I was like, oh, this movie's good.
Yes.
It was good. I was like, oh, this is so much fun. Um, yeah. So I'm assuming to make movie two and to make it interesting and good, it would definitely have to be new children because I feel
Yes.
like otherwise, if it's the adults, the people who are now adults, um, that they would just have to be drunk the whole way through.
Or unless I could see it'd be interesting if like maybe their kids were kidnapped, like
And they had to get
and
back together to
so they had to
find
get back
them.
and instead of doing the proper thing like call the authorities, they went and found them themselves. If Kwan's character still was making gadgets and was still, like I kind of I see like a hazy something in the distance. You feel me? But I
I'm sure
don't.
they'll figure something out.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I just hope it's good. Like
Yeah, yeah.
I just hope it's good
It
because
won't be
Hollywood,
worthy of the Goonies
right?
if it's
And
not.
Hollywood always has a stigma of like just recycling things. And mind you, that's been for the people who don't know, because this seems to be a new phenomenon for you. A lot of the stuff that you like from back in the day was also recycled. Like you
Yeah.
just didn't know it. Like you didn't when I saw so like The Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing is one of my favorite films. And when I saw that film, I didn't realize it was a remake.
Oh, okay. The
I didn't
Thing.
know that the remake, even the original film, was actually based on a book. Totally didn't know any of that.
Ah, okay.
And or like when I first saw Invasion of the Body Snatchers,
Uh-huh.
that is a remake. Now it's a better remake. Like the remake is actually better, but like
Yeah.
I didn't know that. And
Mhm.
so it would be weird for me to be like, in the 2000s or 2010s or whatever, to be like, oh, they're remaking such and such, and my favorite films are remakes and not even know it. That's what you guys are doing.
Right.
You guys
Right.
don't know, or unless you're saying Hollywood has done this enough, stop it. That's never going to happen. So just roll your eyes and keep it moving if it's not for you. Okay, that's what Hollywood does because it's safe. And in order to get all this experimental stuff, I honestly don't know how A24 does it. Shout out to them because they have the most. I feel like they A24 and IFC films are the most creative. Like they green light some of the most creative films, and they take a lot of risks. And I don't know how they do it because their budgets are they're not like super big Hollywood budget, but at the same time they make a lot of freaking money. You know what I mean? So it's like I think their
Yeah.
biggest movie I think was maybe Civil War that came
Mm.
out. But in terms of just money, like horror doesn't cost that much to make
Right.
comparatively, right? So they can make
Right.
a ton, but like they're very much even outside of horror, they experiment. Hollywood as a whole though doesn't do that
Yeah.
because these movies cost a lot of money. We just talked about Looney Tunes, um, and how much that costs. And then we look at the Goonies. The original Goonies was 17 million. Granted, 17 million back in the day, that's a lot
That's a
of
lot.
freaking
That's a
money.
lot.
And I don't think there's a ton of special effects. They had some practical effects. They had normal sets. Like there wasn't a lot, but that was, you know what I mean? And it still cost that amount. So I can understand Hollywood being like, you know what? These big movies aren't working, or the superhero films are like just destroying us at the box office right now.
Mm.
Let's pull some nostalgia and make something good. My only issue with that, or make a film. My only issue is that I just want it to be good.
Yeah.
Just just make it good, and I'm cool with it. I'm Nostalgia works on me if it's good. You feel me?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping
Agreed.
that they do a good job, and we're talking about the Goonies 2 in a better light than we did the Coming to America sequel, or
Which I still love. Don't care.
I can't. I love how fun they had filming
They had
that
so much
film.
fun. They had so much
Because
fun.
especially considering when I look at the Beverly Hills Cop that came
Mhm.
out last year,
Mhm.
um, and how much better that was as a movie, even though
Uh-huh.
it's a sequel to an old trilogy. I'm like,
Uh-huh.
you could do that. That right there.
Yeah.
There it is. You could just do
Yeah.
that. Um,
Coming to
so many
America
things.
too had a stupid story. It was
It
the
was
story was
so
stupid, didn't
many.
make any sense, but it was so much fun. We have to admit that the best
Bruh.
Wesley Snipes,
Wesley Snipes was great. He was
hands
great.
down,
He was
he
great.
wiped it clean for me because I'm
He
like,
was
okay,
great.
this movie is ridiculous, but Wesley Snipes, nah, man, that I will if I ever remember anything from the movie, it is him.
It's I put it in the category like I could own Coming to America. I would probably never own this, but I might watch it if it comes on TV. It's in a weird space for me where
Yes.
I can enjoy it from like that show that used or the a film that comes on during Christmas. It's like this ain't really great, but it feels like a
Uh-huh.
tradition at this point. So I'm just gonna
So you just
watch.
have to watch it.
That's what that's what it feels like. It ain't good. It ain't good. The next thing we wanted to talk about
Hmm.
briefly is the GameStop CEO losing his mind.
Oh God.
Um, GameStop is looking to sell its operations in France and Canada, and the CEO Ryan Cohen ranted online saying, and I quote, email M&A at GameStop.com if you're interested in buying GameStop Canada or Micromania France. I guess that's the name of GameStop in France. High taxes, liberalism, socialism, progressivism, wokeism, or wokeness, sorry, and DEI included at no additional cost if you buy today. Is such a random thing to say and such an interesting or a it shows where his mind is at.
Yeah.
And for people who don't know, GameStop has been had a rough time of it as of late, the last few years, especially with the pandemic, because people weren't going to the stores. People aren't trading in their games as much anymore, considering that physical media is slowly being phased out. A
Yeah.
lot of it is digital right now, and you know, I would love to say that people got wise about selling their stuff back to GameStop, anyways, considering um, that they don't give you a lot for it.
Yeah.
It's really just because of digital stuff. And then on top of that, you look at subscription models like Xbox Game Pass and how that is basically like the Netflix,
Mhm.
killing off Blockbuster. It's like, oh, you can subscribe and get this many games versus paying $60 or $70 for a game. It just makes sense, right?
Yeah.
And so they've been having a hard time, and during the pandemic, it was even worse. And so now GameStop is looking to sell. I think in Canada they had like 600 brick and mortar stores.
600.
I can't remember in France the exact number, but they're trying to sell them. But for whatever
Mhm.
reason, he is salty about this, and I don't think he realized why. Um,
He doesn't
like
realize why they don't have any stores.
right, I think he's saying what he's saying. This tweet that he did is very telling, from a couple of different angles. The
Yeah.
first angle is that he doesn't understand why his store is having a rough time. A lot of stores are having a rough time. We talked off camera about how Best Buy totally removed the physical portions of their store, when it comes to DVDs and Blu-rays and stuff like
Yeah.
that, because they're on the decline, right? And so he's not looking into that. Also, the fact that they purchased Funko, and I think Funko Pop has had a rough time selling the physical pops because yeah, there's a lot of stuff that their stores just have, just like inventory of things that people aren't buying. Um, and so he's missing that. So that's one thing, right? The second thing is he thinks that, I don't know, treating people fairly, giving them like a decent wage, making sure that you aren't, you know, just doing all the bad things you shouldn't do as a company is actually what's affecting his bottom line, which
Mhm.
makes no sense for several reasons that we don't need to really get into because I'm not arguing with you people. I'm sorry. I've seen enough think pieces, and I just think that you can't debate or argue with people who are unwilling to understand or try to
Yeah.
debate in any reasonable fashion, or b people who are extremely ignorant and have no desire to not be ignorant. You cannot. And so I'm not doing it with you. But his inkling on why his company isn't doing well is misplaced. But then number three, and I think this is more, this is really bad. The fact that he's unprofessional and he's tweeting this stuff as he's trying to sell something. Like
Yeah.
at no point if I go to sell something, at no point will I talk about how bad it is. Like I might say like, hey, buyer's remorse, there's no refunds, you get it as it is, you know, um, it comes with the dings, you know what I mean? Like the strip paint, it just comes with that. I'll hook you up with, I'll give you my spare tires, but that's it, type stuff. But I'm not
Yeah.
gonna be like, hey, you know, this car smells like it's been set on fire. Like I'm just not gonna say things that'll make you, like, hey, you
Yeah.
could, hey, like, it just looks bad, right? And so any company that buys them, mind you, this won't stop a company from buying them, but I'm just saying this is public. You're saying
Yeah.
this publicly, so shareholders, the board, the people who are backing you are going to look at you sideways,
Yeah.
even if they feel the same way. It's like you were saying this publicly, and I know people feel emboldened because he who will not be named is in office,
Right.
but it's just really foolish. Um, and I knew like these people didn't have respect for anybody under them anyways. But to say these stuff out loud is just like, yeah, I think you are the reason. You're part of the reason why your company isn't doing well. You don't understand what is happening. You're not trying to pivot in a way that will actually keep you guys afloat. And you're gonna end up like Toys R Us. You're gonna end up like Blockbuster. You're gonna end up like all these other places that were stagnant and not able to kind of move with the times, which is really funny considering that GameStop is a gaming, like you're selling video games, and the video game market has changed significantly over the years. You had the wherewithal to change this. Like, you're ahead of it. You're not like Best Buy, whereas granted Best Buy does have game sections, right? But Best Buy sells everything, so they can't pivot as much as you. So they just like, we're just gonna get rid of it. We're making more money on computers anyways. You feel me? Whereas like GameStop is like, no, this is all you sell.
Mm.
You should kind of look into that and be like, hey, a lot of people are paying, because at one point they had a whole because I used to work there, they had a whole stand that had uh like gift cards for like Xbox Live, PSN, Steam. They had gift cards for all these things they were selling out of because people would just want to buy digital. Um, even the way the video games went from having booklets to not having booklets, the way video games went from, everything is online now. You have to install everything on your
Mm-hmm.
consoles. Like, that this is coming, and you're still banking on people selling you used copies of items, but they're not buying the item to begin with, not in that
Yeah.
fashion. And if the pandemic didn't tell you that this was coming,
Yeah.
I don't know what would be. Like, what else? What else could you like? People aren't actually physically walking in your stores now. What are you doing?
Yeah.
I think like he went from, or not him personally, but GameStop went from, I think, 9 billion in 2012.
Mm.
I think they're like, last year they were 4 point something billion. That's a significant drop of money. And mind you, I know people are like, they still got billions. No, 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 no. Do you know how hard it is to make a billion? How much money that is? I don't think you understand how much money is a billion. But if you have
Yeah.
9 of them things and you lose a bunch of them,
Yeah.
like
You lose
5 of them,
5 of them.
considering how hard it is to make them, I'll be throwing up all over the place. I'm sorry. Like, it's like, because that means you can, if you lost 5, you can lose 4.
You can
You know what
lose
I'm
four
saying? Like,
more.
you can lose them very quickly, and that's disheartening. If
That's
you
why
weren't
he's
such a
crashing
weird
out.
person, right? Like,
Right.
like, why are you crashing out online? Um,
That's the best
yeah,
place to do so, apparently.
I
I
guess.
guess it's where you can get your feelings out in the most eloquent way, not insert sarcasm. Like,
I mean, did he think people were gonna feel bad for him? I mean,
I
I guess
don't,
on the new Twitter, maybe, because but
yeah, on
like,
racist
does
Twitter, yeah.
does he think people are gonna feel like you're a billionaire? Like, do you think people are gonna feel bad?
On
Like,
Truth Social, maybe. Maybe
right?
he can ask, what's this guy's name? 47, 45, whatever. Maybe
Oh,
he can
that,
ask
yeah.
him to give him some money because isn't that what the DOGE
Oh my
is?
gosh.
Is Joanne finding them money? I'm just saying, like, so maybe he can have some of that.
Which is hilarious considering he's talking about DEI when he's putting all the people he knows into hot positions, regardless if they have any type of experience in those fields. Um, yeah, people aren't very bright, but
They're not.
you don't have to be. I guess if you just make money, like, you can fail upwards.
You totally
Um,
can. And I
you
think we
know,
discussed this on one of our earlier
yep,
podcasts
yep,
about being mediocre.
yep, being mediocre and still getting a lot of money.
Yeah.
Um, considering your, I don't want to say upbringing because that sounds like a positive thing, but like, you were given money, like a lot of money.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you have a business. That totally makes sense. Um, it's unfortunate. I don't care because I stopped
Right.
rocking with GameStop a long time ago.
Yeah.
And that was before they did what they did to Game Informer. They're just a bad company, all around. And I feel bad for Reggie from Nintendo. I don't know if he's still there. I know
Mm.
he went after he left Nintendo to kind of, I don't, to be more of an advisory position.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty sure they didn't listen to him. But other than that, I'm like, hey, you kind of made your bed with all the goofiness. and whatnot, and just bad decision making. So that's on you. Um, now, the next thing we want to talk about is Pantheon, and so this show, I believe it was on AMC
AMC.
Plus first, and
Yeah.
then it came to Netflix, which is why I missed it because I refuse to subscribe to another. I have too many passwords. Like I'm tired of this, man. Like I have, and granted, I do rotate. Like I subscribe to HBO and then I unsubscribe.
Mhm.
I subscribe to Hulu, unsubscribe. There's only like two that I keep all the time, and
Mhm.
so I understand like, oh, this is just one more, but I have so many passwords and I have so
Yeah.
many like. It's very easy to let one lapse now because there's just so many, and I'm like, it's just one show, whatever. Um, because AMC Plus actually licensed their stuff to other streamers over time.
Yeah.
So I'm like, why would I do that? But I'm hearing good things about the show. Aside from its animation,
Yeah.
um, you actually finished Pantheon. I know season
I
two is
did.
going to be dropping pretty soon.
It dropped
Um,
yesterday.
dropped yesterday. So uh, fourth wall. Yesterday was Friday.
Yes.
What are you thinking of? How you feel about the show?
So I actually really like it.
Word.
So I don't want to spoil like season 2.
Mm.
If you haven't seen season 1, well, I don't know what you're waiting for. But because I know you have Netflix. If you're watching us right now, you have Netflix. So
Right.
go ahead and do that. But I'm just gonna say this just because we did have our arcane discussion.
Yeah.
I started to feel like season 2 was getting the arcane treatment,
Ah.
with the rushing, but I actually feel like it redeemed itself even in
Okay.
a shorter amount of episodes. I think it was 8 episodes.
Okay.
Um, and these are like, 40 some odd minute, like hour long shows. Anyway, Pantheon is kind of an animated Inception.
Okay.
That's just kind of a shorter way of telling it. Obviously, Inception was an amazing movie. It was just
Right.
out of this world. And there are a lot of people who are like, I don't understand it. A lot of people are like, no, I can't do these cerebral type shows. Can't do it. But Pantheon surprised me. It really did.
Hmm.
And I think I just wasn't. I like being surprised because then I can't like do an over analysis before I watch something, and then which makes me enjoy it less because I have an overactive brain that hurts a
Yeah.
lot. So, so it follows a high school girl, and she is being bullied at school. She's new to the school. Her and her mom
Hmm.
just moved there. Her father passed away 2 years ago, and she's being bullied, and so she kind of like immerses herself in her dad's old laptop, which has a computer game that they used to play. And she starts getting these text messages, like these like it's like AOL, but it looks like it's in DOS.
Okay.
And she starts getting these emoji chats, and she's communicating with this individual like via emoji because that's the only way that individual can communicate with her. And it's very
Hmm.
interesting. Then her mom busts in, and she's like, "Who the heck are you? And why are you talking to my daughter?" And blah blah blah. And then the person writes something in emoji that the mom understands.
Okay.
And my daughter's like 15, and she's like, does this mean something to you?
Hmm.
And then she's like, oh my God. She's like, what does that mean? And she's like, that's your father. Dad's been dead for
Hmm.
2 years. Who is this man? Who's texting
Right.
you?
Right.
Who is? And so the girl is obsessed, and she believes that 100% that is her father talking to her via this, DOS AOL Instant Messenger type thing. And the mom is like, no, it's not. It's not anywhere. She's like, you're the one who said it. It was your idea. No, no, no,
Right.
no. He's dead. He's dead. He's dead. He's dead. And then you end up finding out, because the mom's got to be honest, that the father used to work for this company that was working on uploading human consciousness. So
Ah.
um, he was dying. I believe he was dying of cancer. And so he decided that he was going to upload himself. And not because he wanted to like live forever. It was just because to the only way to do it, the only way to actually do this process, to actually upload a human to an online presence, was that you had to scan the person's brain layer by layer. So a lot of these other types of shows will will have a different process for uploading humans. Like if you've watched Black
Right.
Mirror, it wasn't that difficult. Like that one episode of Black, I love that it's like I think it was the season finale of that one season. It's oh my, sand choppa something. I forgot.
Hmm.
Oh no, I'm gonna lose us. This is what happens when your dog steps on your mouse.
Uh,
Okay, I'm literally trying to get her to been trying to get her to calm down. Hermione, please chill out. But she's been tripping ever since the door opened. So anyway, um, where was I in regards to, oh yeah, uploading. So there's that episode of Black Mirror where it's not a lot of work to upload you to the
right.
system. You know, you just go to sleep and they press some buttons and boom, you're uploaded. I think even the show Uploaded, I don't think it was that. Upload used to play in the background for me. I didn't actually watch everything that was happening, but it's never this violent. So, but to upload a person, you have to kill them.
Oh wow.
They literally laser every layer of your brain, and it takes a long time, like it takes a couple hours or something. And so you know what you're signing up for. Uploading is death. And so obviously they had a funeral for him, and and we're like, this man is dead. He's been dead for 2 years. The sad thing is that the company lied, because yes, he worked for this company. He did volunteer at the end of his life to say, okay, just go ahead and upload me. But the company and the dad's best friend had told the mother, because they were very close friends, said the upload didn't work. He's dead. Here is
Okay.
his, this is basically all that's left of him, because this is a digital copy of him or whatever, but it doesn't work. It was unsuccessful. And people had to be willing to do this, because this is a you die type thing. This is
Yeah.
very, very, very experimental, and it wasn't even legal. Like,
Oh yeah. Of course.
you
That's
know,
not,
it's like Squid Game. Okay, it's
right.
like,
Right.
by
Right.
the way, you can kill people, or you can kill yourself to win $1 billion. Like, so that
Yeah.
here's the chances. So that's kind of how the story really starts, and you find out that this company actually lied, and they did upload him, and they do have a copy of him, and they've been doing whatever they've been doing with him, and just never told the family. But he managed to break out
Hmm.
by some either flaw or whatever. He manages to kind of get out of his computer prison and contact his family, and it kind of goes from there. It is a multi-layered story. There's a lot of stories happening at the same time, but they all converge, which I think is good storytelling. It's not just linear. It's not boring at all. I actually binged season 1. Didn't even think that I was going to really enjoy it, and I definitely had to like it because I do not like the animation. The animation's not
Yeah.
it's
That's one
not
thing
good.
I've. Yeah. I've
I
seen people
don't
talk about that.
Yeah, it's not good. It's on it's worse than God of Zeus, or whatever that stuff was called.
Yeah.
What was that
Yeah.
called
No, it
again?
was
Zeus of God, Zeus of
son of
power,
no
Zeus of nothing, Zeus of dumb,
something
God
Zeus
of dumb,
Netflix. I
God
can't
of
remember. I
Zeus's
can't remember.
sons, God of Zeus is a whore.
Those are the subtitles. Those are the subtitles of it. But yeah,
We
it does remind me of because it looks well. I mean, you've seen it, but like
Yeah,
it at least in trailers to me, it looked like it had issues with frames, the
yeah.
framing, the movement. It wasn't fluid, and like Netflix is like I don't know, like the which is weird because the studios that they use. aren't known for that.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a budget thing?
I think it's a budget thing. I do. I think it's a budget thing. I think they're just like, hey, we're only giving you this much money, so cut corners where you can. And they
Hmm.
do. And that's what I was hoping that for season 2, I was hoping that they got more money and it was like, okay, we're gonna give you a better animation. Because I was actually talking to somebody on excuse me, Friday, and they were like, yeah, I started watching episode 1 because it looked good, but I didn't keep watching because the animation bothered me. And I was like, look,
Hmm.
that does it for me. That's why I never watched Kingdom. And Kingdom is supposed to be one of the like really, really good animes. And I literally could not get through Kingdom because I hate bad animation. And it's that bad computer animation, like the really, really bad kind.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I cannot
Yeah.
watch this. If they had put a cartoon layer over it and made it like just, but they don't have that kind of money. So, but I can't watch it. And everybody says, no, it gets better. It gets better. Like the animation does get better when they get more money. I need it to get better now. I need them to do a Dragon Ball Z
Right
Kai.
now. Right
I need them to
now.
go back and I need them to reanimate it because I can't do this. I need them to Sonic the Hedgehog this. Like, but, but season 2 didn't get a overhaul, but I will say there are certain animation points, like there are certain story climaxes that happen where the animation is really really good. It's
Hmm.
not like Castlevania level, like
Okay.
when they're having the big boss fight type
Yeah.
thing. It's not that. It's just that there were a couple big boss fights where they put all their money into,
Hmm.
and you're like, oh, this is cool. And because it is heavily, like they use the heavily computerization stuff, you can see where like, oh, this actually works, and it works in those in that sense because we also know what we're talking about. We're talking about uploaded people in a computer
Right.
system, so a lot of that actually does work. And some of those things were very detailed and they looked really cool. So,
Okay.
so I appreciated that. I felt like the show had a lot of nods to just so many other stories, like so many other IPs, but not in the same way that season 2 of Arcane did. Like season 2 of Arcane, I'm like, again, we watched Age of Ultron
Right.
in the Avengers. Like again, we watched this, we've watched that. This is not new, and it actually feels like you're stealing. Like it doesn't even feel good. It doesn't. It
Right.
doesn't feel good at all. But in Pantheon, I was like, oh, this feels like this feels similar to this, and this feels similar to this. Okay, and like the one of the main characters, or I shouldn't main characters anyway, is basically Steve Jobs.
Ah, okay.
Okay, they have a person who is clearly modeled after Steve Jobs, and and like I don't know, I just thought it was pretty cool, and the story kind of did go in directions I didn't 100% think it was going to go in, even though like
Hmm.
most of it I felt was okay. This is kind of a predictable story. Like this is a natural progression. This makes sense of where we're going, what kind of overarching theme we're talking about.
Yeah.
But then things would happen where I was like, wasn't expecting that. Nope, wasn't
And
it?
that's always good, especially if
Wasn't.
the surprise is a good one, as opposed
Yeah,
to you uh, destroying whatever it is, goodwill you built up all the way to the end. It's like, yeah, that
right,
wasn't the surprise I was looking for.
right.
That's bad.
That's a bad
Uh,
one.
so this is definitely a show you would recommend then.
I definitely recommend this. I do. It is cerebral, but it's watchable. Like it's not as heavy as Inception. In
Okay.
Inception, just had it had a lot of people lost. A lot of people lost, but not me. I love that. So I'm still the biggest fan. It's
Facts.
one of the best movies ever. But this I strongly recommend. Um, I also don't feel like it feels too young.
Okay.
Sometimes like you've got something that's animated and your main characters are teenagers, and then it kind of just feels like you get to a certain age, okay, like us, and then you're kind of like, hmm, just feel like this would have been like 22-year-old me would have been like, oh my god, oh,
Right.
this is the best. But 42-year-old me would be like, but no, it doesn't feel like that. Like I don't feel like these two kind of main characters who are teenagers. I don't feel like it makes the show young. It is also surrounded by a lot of adults making decisions,
Okay.
so it feels like something that's very relatable. Again, it's something that seems like, don't know how close near in the future something like this could happen, but it could, For example, we've talked on the show a lot about not a lot, but we've talked about Sword Art Online,
Yeah.
right? And then how Sword Art Online season 1 was, whatever it was. And then season 2, we were like, okay, you just you nerfed Asuna, and now the show is no longer watchable because she is now a prisoner for a sexual predator, and this is not
Right.
interesting. Like this,
Exactly.
it's no longer fun. Um, and but one of the things that I really like, one of the not sentiments, but one of the purposes in Sword Art Online that I liked was the futurism, the things that were like, hey, you guys, we're actually on the brink of these types of things. We're on the brink of artificial intelligence evolving. We're on the brink of implementing certain things with AI, and we're on the brink of virtual reality technology and alternate reality technology, like when
Right.
an augmented reality, where you are wearing a goggle that just augments, like Pokemon, augments
Right.
your space. Like, and so I enjoy those things because they are technologies that we're currently talking about, currently dealing with in our own lives, and you talk about how they could affect us moving forward. It seems like one of the bases for Pantheon is how a technology that some people thought would actually be very, very beneficial to mankind can go horribly wrong in the wrong hands. Or in the right hands, what is it called? Is it the Fermi paradox? The Fermi paradox, where I think that's the right paradox, where if we were to meet aliens, should we shoot first?
Right. 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 Right.
You know? So it's basically just that. It's like, wait a minute, you've been working on this technology, and then you find out through some crazy stuff that somebody else is working. And this is not some simple technology.
Right.
And you're like, wait a minute, you guys have been working on this. How long have you been working on this? We've been working on this for 25 years or 30 years or whatever. How long have you been working this? And what did you do? And how did you figure out how to do this? Because this is not just groundbreaking, this is world bending. How? And
Right.
then you find out that somebody else has the exact same technology, and their their way of grabbing it, or the situation that happened in the way that they came about it, happened to be violent or something. And so then this individual who now has this power is negatively affected.
Right.
And what does that person do with the power? And something that one of the characters actually says that in the show, and I really appreciate that. And it said something like, where did we miss the mark, or something, because it was like,
Mm.
this wasn't supposed to be like this. Even if we're sitting in a group in a think tank and we talk about all the negative things that could happen with the technology like this, if it stays in our small hands in a group of 20 people, we're fine because we know exactly how we're going to roll this out, or xyz blah 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 blah, right? And then that totally goes left. I,
Yeah.
I
Which, of
appreciate,
course.
which is what would happen anyway in
Right.
general sense. And then how the countermeasures of those things get brought into play. And when you think you're saving the world, but technology always finds a way to continue to move forward, so then whatever you built to counteract said technology that was released ends up being bad. It's like an Avengers movie again. it's
Right.
it's
Yeah.
like, but I feel like it was done in a different way. And I feel like it was done in a way that it didn't feel like it was just repetitive. It felt like there were new ideas.
That's
And
good.
yeah, so I enjoyed it. I think that season 2 did suffer from the pacing, because I do think that there are things that could have been fleshed out longer, but it didn't feel like there was just holes like Arcane. Like, I'm
Right.
sorry, I'm still asking, and yes, merch is coming. I will. Where is Heimerdinger? Where is Heimerdinger?
Right.
So I didn't feel like we had that here, and if it did happen, it went too fast. I had to binge it yesterday. So
Do you think they're gonna
um,
do? Are they gonna do a third season, or you think
I don't
they're
I don't think so from the way this ended.
okay?
I don't. I just feel like this is a good place to end. If they wanted to do another season, they could.
Okay.
Um, not in the same vein as like Alice in Borderland season 3, where everybody keeps talking about it being teased, and I'm like, no, the way Alice in Borderland ended, we should not get a season 3. It just needs
Right.
to end. It don't po- drag out the story.
Which I
Like,
think the manga actually ended. I think that ended where
yeah,
season 2 ends. So I'm like, what are we doing?
yeah, we're just
Yeah.
gonna make something up. But I feel like this is a great part, a great place for it to end. And if they did want to make more, then they could continue someone else's story. They could write new stories because again, you have a world, you have um, a new world order that you could use to
Right.
make more stories. And so I like I said, I enjoyed it. I think that it has its flaws, but I think it's palatable because if I don't like something, I'm only going to binge it for two reasons. The first reason is because I'm hate watching it, and the second reason is because I'm hate watching it for the podcast.
Got you.
That's it. And I did not hate watch this, and I didn't hate watch it for us either. So
That's
like
good.
like there I hate watched season 1 of Rings of Power. I had to, obviously, and I can admit it right now. I did not finish Rings of Power season 1. I missed 2 episodes because I couldn't do it, and I won't.
Right.
I won't do it. Did I watch season 2? Absolutely not. Are you crazy? I would never because I can hate watch things as long as I can stomach it. But if it is wasting my time in the sense of I have a headache, I have other things to do, I could build a model plane. I don't do that. That's not a hobby of mine, but I could.
Just cuz, like, you know what? I could be doing something that I totally don't like just to not do this thing.
Just to not do that. Just not
That's
watch a TV
that's
show that I'm not being forced to watch.
that's why, and that's good. I mean, because you think about it, there's so many things that compete with our time. Um, we talked on this cast. We talked about film. We talked about,
Yeah.
uh, the GameStop CEO. So that's games.
Yeah.
We're talking about a TV show on Netflix. It's like all these things pull your time away, and if you're not enjoying it, or at the very least you're not making content from it, then
Right.
I can totally understand not. And I've done that a bunch. There's been a bunch of shows where I was watching and I was like, I can kind of see, and some of them I'm forcing myself through because I
Yeah.
want to actually discuss them.
Yeah.
Um, but others I'm like, I just gotta stop. I was watching not Alice in Borderland. There's another one, Korean show on Netflix. I
Mhm.
think it just got the third season. Where they're all stuck in an apartment building or something like that, and there's like monsters everywhere.
I
Um,
just saw that and I tried to watch season 1, but I have to pay attention, subtitled. I was busy and I couldn't
yeah,
pay
so
attention.
don't do it. So I watched the first season,
Don't do
right,
it.
and it was going in a way that made me angry, and I was like, you know what, this could be, and not to say the Korean shows are bad, but just
No.
indicative of cultural differences
Oh,
in
yeah,
how
yeah.
we tell a story. But
Mhm.
then when season 2 started, I was like, ooh, I see this going poorly,
Mhm.
and my wife was like, so I read up on it, and I don't think you're gonna enjoy where this story goes. And I was like, is it going here? And she kind of confirmed it, and I was like, you know what? I think I'm done. I think season 1 was enough because it's just gonna make me angry. It's just gonna make me
Yeah.
angry. Um, I was watching. I was trying to another show that did that. I was trying to catch up with the Walking Dead show.
Mhm.
I stopped after the last episode of the final season of The Walking Dead, but then they have like these extra things like Walking Dead Daryl and Walking Dead New York and all this other stuff.
Mhm.
And so I was like, you know what? I want to finish that, and I want to watch Fear the Walking Dead because I did start that. And while it had like some good seasons, oh my gosh. And that's all I'm gonna say. And so I'm at the final season, and I haven't hit the button yet
Mhm.
to watch it because I need to prepare my mind
Yes.
for it. Um, because they do this circular writing thing that I just never liked, where
Mm.
we kind of just dance around an issue and go back and forth, and everyone ends up in the same place over and
Soap
over
opera.
and over. And it's
Mhm.
like, just stay away from him. Just stay away from him. He's no good for you. Soap opera, whatever. And it's
Yep.
it's it's so annoying. And I'm like, why am I doing this to myself? Like when she asked me, like, why are you watching? I'm like, apparently I hate myself. That's what it is.
Yes,
Apparently I
that's what I do.
dislike in this moment. I do not like myself. all because I want to get to. My brain doesn't allow me to skip things sometimes. Where I'm just like, I need to see the first one before the second one. I
That's the
just have that.
ADD.
I just have to do it. Like, there's been movies where I wanted to go to the theater to see because they look great. And I'm like, I have to see the first thing first. I know it's
Yeah.
terrible, but just let me see the first thing. Um, and so
I
yeah,
just found out that my sister, who doesn't like these things, or like she's not even into sci-fi, I just found out she was forced to watch Dune,
oh wow, did she like it?
starting from David Lynch's Dune.
Oh my gosh. Okay, how did that go? Because
Love makes you do crazy things. She
oh,
was forced and challenged. She likes challenge.
exactly. But did she? The question is, did she enjoy any of it?
She said she said that she done watched the first one and then she was like, "What the heck?" And so then she watches the
Of
second
the
first one. So okay,
right,
so we know the first one is the first one, and then
right,
Dennis's is the second first one. So
right.
she watches the first one and then she watches second first one and she's like, "Wait, what?" And she's like, "Wait, why is it taking 3 hours to tell the exact same story that happened in the first one?" And she was
Yeah,
like, "This is slow." And then and then we had some, you know how much I love Timote. It's little
right.
Timote jokes. And then but I was like, "It's so good though." And she's like, "Yeah, I guess." So
See, man. Ah, ah.
she
I
watched all
could.
three.
I get it though. I get it. Because if it wasn't for my wife, I probably would have never watched any Korean dramas ever.
And you have
Granted,
to.
I do like some of them. I'm not gonna hold you.
Yes.
I think and I've said this to her. I'm like, I think I'm more of a romantic than I think because I
Yeah.
enjoyed some of it.
Yeah.
But as a whole,
My sassy girl is still the best.
right.
That
as,
movie.
as a whole, I don't know. It depends. Like and obviously anything in horror. Um,
Yeah, right, right.
but it just kind of depends on because there's some things that you might not enjoy the initial whatever. So like for instance, her enjoying the original, but she might like the newer version just because how they speed up through most of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so you might kind of, okay, I can appreciate these attributes that you guys were talking about that I couldn't really see in the first one, but I
Mm.
get it now because I had that experience. Totally understand that. But then there's some times where you look back and you're like, I could have did so many other
So
things,
many things.
so many other things. It's
I
unfortunate.
I will never regret doing. No, I let me take that back. Let me not lie to you people on. I don't I don't lie. Like there has to I otherwise I just don't do it because my brain doesn't have I keep telling y'all, I'm playing with the goddamn fidget spinner. Okay? Like I don't have the capacity to keep up with a lie, so I don't do it.
Right.
So I'm not going to lie. No, I regret everything about watching Rings of Power. However, the amount of conversations I have had with people
Yeah.
has just been fantastic. Like I love being able to talk with knowledge about something.
Yes,
And
that's where it
it's
is.
exactly. You
Yes,
have to
that's
be
why.
educated.
Yes, that's why which is hilarious considering what we were talking about on Twitter. But
Ah,
that's a whole nother story. Shout out to everybody if you've been hanging out with us this whole time, we appreciate you.
yes.
If you're watching on YouTube, feel free to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you're
Ding,
up on
ding,
all the
ding.
new episodes. If you're subscribing on iTunes or Spotify, we appreciate that. Add us to your RSS feeds.
Mhm.
Shout out to Landon. He's been subscribed on I think iTunes for a
Mm,
bit, and he really enjoyed. I mean, he enjoys the show, period. But he really enjoyed
nice.
last week's show, especially
Thanks,
your
Landon.
portion with the Sims. He really
Hey,
dug
I,
that.
I got more
Uh,
Sim stories coming at you next week. They are
so
out of
yeah,
control.
I'm telling you, we gotta get you set up so you can stream.
Hey,
Uh,
I have two Sims that are married and in love. And
that's
why is she soulmates with his best friend? The Sims is at listen EA, listen Maxis. Stop with these expansion packs. Stop with this nonsense. You're breaking games. You're breaking our games.
fam. This could be a online like your days of our lives in Simdom, and that would be great. Like I said, I would pay to see that. But yeah, we again appreciate you for hanging out with us. We'll be back for another show pretty soon.
Mhm.
So definitely stick with us. Also, we have some interesting things coming up. We're going to be
Mhm.
talking about, or rather, breaking down and dissecting old anime that we love. So
Yerp.
right now, I'm trying to finish Neon Genesis Evangelion. I'm also trying to finish the original Gundam. It's difficult right now, and I totally understand
Just
why
do
I
Gundam
didn't.
Wing.
I want to, because that's the one I actually watch
Yeah.
like back in the day. But I'm like, nope. I want to be able to talk about it because I have some stuff to say. So let me watch it so then I could be like, I'm informed on things. No one else needs to do this. This is just for me
It's
because we have
just
this platform, because I write about this stuff, because I talk about this stuff. I want to be, like if you're a musician, you should go back. We had this discussion on here where you should go back and listen to the greats so you kind of know where you're, you know what I mean? You kind of know. And so I want to be informed when I talk about. And also, if people come for me when I talk about a Death Note, it's because I'm informed. Because I'm going to talk about Death Note. You guys owe me an apology, and we're gonna talk about that soon. We're gonna talk about that soon. But yeah, that's it for me.
That's it.
That's it for us.
That's it for us. Thanks for hanging out. Again, check out Pantheon if you haven't, and if you don't like it, say so. Tell me, like, tell
Yes.
us. Just be like, no, that show was whack. Like, you have bad taste. I would love to hear somebody say that because then I'll fight you. So anyway, get your fidget spinner. They're really, really helpful, especially for people who are neurodivergent like me. And thanks. Don't be a dick. Wash your hands, wash your face, and your butts. Bye bye.